So as usual, we'll start with some meditation. So just take a moment to be aware of your body, aware of the present moment, aware of where the energies are flowing in your body and in your mind. And as we go inward, we can also bring awareness to each other's presence. And though we're not physically near, we're certainly all present together in this experience. So bring that collective presence vividly to mind. As Thomas Hubel says, because we're here together with a common shared intention, this creates an energy field, if you like, something potentially very powerful. And surrounding this energy field of our group, we can also be aware of the larger field of the whole human community. Right around the world. So let's listen with our intuitive mind to that larger being, that greater being that we are part of. And how is it right now? We can sense that there is a lot of fear present within our human community, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of suffering. So let your mind tune into the frequency, the energy of compassion. Visualize your heart as a glowing sphere of light, radiating kindness, healing, calming energy. We can be present with this suffering, and we can bring healing to it. Although there's fear, in truth, we don't know where this is leading. We can get stuck in very negative feelings about it. But we can also recognize there are very positive potentials present within this situation as well. And so here we are in this present moment, in the first part of the 21st century, entering on a period of great uncertainty and deep change. So we're going to come back to that in a moment, looking at where that change might be headed. But first, I want us to go back in time through the years, through the centuries, before the dawn of civilization, before there were any human beings in this part of the world. Back into the heart of Africa 70,000 years ago. At that time, there were no humans outside of the continent of Africa. And at that time, there was an ecological catastrophe that occurred of climate change, decimating the human population. Just a few thousand individuals were left. So imagine the scene. Imagine yourself as one of your very remote ancestors in this time. Great fear, great suffering. No one knew what would happen. Many were dying. But somehow we made it through. Some of us. Not long after that, sometime later, our ancestors managed to leave their original home, crossing the Red Sea to Arabia, from there to India, and around the world, spreading across the entire planet. Throughout all of this, undergoing incredible hardships. Nevertheless, our species survived. There were more ecological catastrophes, climate change, other natural catastrophes. But the life force that sustained us through our evolutionary history has continued. We've experienced the collapse of civilizations, great pandemics such as the Black Death that wiped out almost half the human population. And yet our civilization continued not only to exist, but to develop, bringing amazing cultural productions of art, literature, music, science, religion, philosophy, spirituality, something totally unprecedented in the entire history of life on Earth. And now, the 21st century, all of that extraordinary, unbelievable, and wonderful achievement of humanity is still here, still growing, still developing. But we are not safe from those environmental catastrophes that we've faced in the past. And it would seem now we've outgrown our stage of development as city-states, nation-states, and even the great power blocks of the 20th century. Now we must make the transition to a global society. But we're facing the biggest ecological challenge that we've ever confronted. How can we, as individuals, as groups, as a society, navigate our way through this unprecedented, challenging situation? It seems it may now be too late to simply fix everything. And find a way for our vast global population and our capitalist economy to survive unharmed. We're going into a time of deep transition. And as individuals, we can respond in various ways. We can turn away, ignore the problem, deny it, try to fix it. But if we look at this, speaking from my own viewpoint, if we look at it as Dharma practitioners, what we're called upon to do is to acknowledge the reality that we are, as a species, as a planet, as an ecosystem, we are entering yet another time of cataclysmic change. And in that change, there will be great suffering. There will be much loss of life. It seems almost impolite to say these things. But it seems to me that what we need to do is to find the spiritual resources within ourselves, within what we've learned and received from some of those wonderful products of our cultural development that I spoke of, especially the Mahayana Dharma, other spiritual traditions, scientific and philosophical understanding. We have to recognize the reality of our situation and recognize we've been through such catastrophes before. They're part of our evolutionary story. It's not to be callous about the suffering, but it's just simply to acknowledge the reality. It comes back to the first noble truth, the first words spoken by the Buddha. Suffering cannot be simply written out of life, human existence. It lies deep in the fabric of our being, our potential for suffering. And we can only become free from it by facing it, understanding its causes, and understanding the deep spiritual solution that is there. The Buddha was under no illusions about the magnitude of human suffering. And if we are to follow his teachings, correctly, we also have to confront the awesome scale and magnitude of suffering. This present situation may just be a wake-up call to that effect. We have to learn to operate in a very difficult time. Out of that time, there may come ultimately something on the positive side that at the moment we cannot even imagine. We have been most fortunate to made a connection with the spiritual teachings of the Mahayana Buddhist tradition from Tibet. Those teachings are so deep, so pure, so well grounded in reason, above all in the practical application that the Tibetan Lamas and their followers have shown, that we can have unshakable faith in the truth. Not only is there suffering and the cause of suffering, there is also the end of suffering and the path that leads to the end of suffering. Beyond this looming danger. There is a future that we can scarcely envisage, a positive future. And it is our task, collectively, as the Dharma community in the world, as all spiritual practitioners in the world, as the entire human species, our collective task is to bring that wondrous possibility, the potential that is here to birth. So these are vast considerations. But in truth, all we're called on to do is to not close our eyes or our hearts, to trust the quite simple, practical instruction that we've received, how to practice. And then we are playing our part in this great journey, which Anna Macy calls the Great Turning. It's awesome and terrible, but life is awesome and terrible. It is possible to navigate this journey with inner peace in our heart. And if we're able to do that, then we're making a tremendous contribution to what the world needs. Thank you.